was beautiful.
All right.
All
We are
right.
being recorded.
Let's just jump right in and shares. Whoever has any shares that they're called to, favorite points of the book, what stuck out. We'll dive into some other things, but we'll start with that. Just big main takeaways. What's really sticking with you from this first half of the book?
I have a funny story. um, Whenever I first started listening to Outwitting the Devil, I was solo camping in Oregon by myself,
Hmm.
and it like it had me like kind of like jumping at shadows a little bit.
Can y'all hear? Can y'all hear Trevor?
Yeah, no, I cannot.
Um,
Okay, Trevor, you're kind of
just like
breaking out, brother.
the interview with the devil and kind of like energy and how the uh can you hear me?
Uh,
Not really. For some reason, you're like crackly.
Speak
Okay,
up
I'm
some louder.
connecting to Wi-Fi right now. Cool.
Okay.
there we go. You need the Wi-Fi.
Oh, I was about to say, yeah, you're cooked if that's gonna be your Wi-Fi, my boy. Well, when he gets that figured out, he can tell his story in a bit. I think the biggest one that stuck out for me is where he's having a conversation with the devil, and the devil admits that 98% of people in life are called drifters, and meaning like they lack purpose or can easily be manipulated. So that was just a crazy thing to see that like the devil is more seen as not a tangible like being, but something that, creates an internal struggle in your mind. So that was just an interesting part.
Does that resonate with you?
For sure, yeah. Definitely resonates with me. I feel like a lot of people see the devil as like a religious figure. Um, but it's not listed as a religious figure in this book. It's more like fear, doubt, procrastination, all those traits. So I never thought of the devil as that way, but definitely challenged um my thinking of if I relate to the devil being like a real force or like a metaphor for those struggles, a metaphor for those struggles.
Hmm. Yeah,
So it
Right?
100%.
makes it more relative to put it that way.
Yeah,
Hmm.
for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's definitely an interesting experience if the devil is really some being or form of energy that is trying to make a living hell on earth.
Mm.
Yeah. It the way that he breaks it down with like you have your atoms and then inside of your atoms you have your protons, neutrons and electrons, and then inside of your electrons you have like a positive and a negative force, and this force of positivity is positive and this force of negativity is negative, and the force of negativity can't be positive and the force of positivity can't be positive, and we don't have reality without these two forces, and science even like shows that these two forces exist like in the world, that we have half of all of reality is a positive force and half of all of reality is a negative force, and that these two forces together create all of reality, and the negative force is negative and is going to perpetuate negativity because that's what it is, and it doesn't have any say in that. That's what it does, that's what it is. And that kind of resonates with me because even
Hmm.
with like Christian um ideology with the devil, right, in Christianity Lucifer was one of God's right hand men, right? And he was like the top dog angel. And then he decided that he wanted to make that, he thought he was more powerful than God. And then God cast him down to earth. And then it's like, okay, so right there, I see that, like, okay, at one point he was good and then he turned bad. And now he's bad like for forever. But he changed from like good to bad. So could he not change from like bad to good? So it's like, there's like questions like that that have been in my head, thinking about like the devil before, versus like now it's like, oh, this is a force, and this force is a part of reality, and this force doesn't have a say in it being good or bad. It just is. Um, so I do like the way that it
Mhm.
breaks that down. Yes, Max.
Awesome. I think your point of discussing of where the devil dwells exactly is going to lead to my favorite part of the book,
Let's hear it.
and how the devil defines himself as his place of abode is in the human mind, as you were talking about positive and negative thoughts, right? And he takes up those negative thought spaces in the human mind, and that's where his abode is, or at least that's what he describes in the book.
Mm,
And what I found most interesting in this book was this whole concept of drifting and this whole ideology of who a drifter is, and like what constitutes drifting, and like how does one distinguish a drifter from a non-drifter. And I'm going to tell you my favorite part of the book, and he describes what a non-drifter is. He used to be known as a go-getter, but in modern times he is called a go-giver. You'll
mm,
find him running the biggest business in town, living on the biggest street, driving the best automobile, and making his presence felt wherever he happens to be. He is an inspiration to all who come in contact with his mind. The major distinguishing feature of a non-drifter is this: he has a mind of his own and uses it for all purposes.
mm.
And I just love that part of the book, because it makes me feel so empowered, and it makes me want to be a non-drifter.
Yes.
So you'd consider yourself a drifter.
Well, there are times where I do languish and have a lot of self-imposed limitations,
Mm.
and I do take pride in having a lot of positive thoughts and a lot of positive thinking, always trying to see the silver lining, because in every because a non-drifter sees uh what does he see? He doesn't see anything as a defeat, but nearly as a temporary defeat. With
Mm.
that, when it has seeds, that will create the victory.
An opportunity for growth.
Hmm.
Yes.
Mm. Yeah. What do you guys feel like are some areas in your life where you fall into drifting?
Uh, for me, I fall into drifting when it comes to my family members. If uh I feel like I have less control, and I just have so much frustration, about how they act and what they do, and I guess I just get so disappointed, because I see their example and I just want to copy them and just complain all the time, and sometimes it's hard for me to pull myself away from that.
Mm,
Mm.
I would say definitely in the context of relationships as well, with people when I've adopted a way of behavior around a certain person,
Hmm.
particularly like one that's super present is my younger sister. I have unconscious behaviors that I'll even become conscious of as I'm doing them, and I still find myself trapped in a loop where I I don't know if the origins came from me not thinking for myself, but in the sense that I'm not creating new thought patterns that are serving, I'm drifting because I'm just choosing a reactive behavior that I've done before as a form of very surface level connection. So I see drifting not only as not thinking for yourself, but also not consciously deciding in the moment when you have an unserving behavior, even if you're the one who originally chose that behavior.
mm.
Hmm.
Yeah. So then in the book, it says that the biggest enemy of this negative force or of the quote, quote, devil is the person that thinks for themselves and the person that has the self-awareness around their own thoughts, and then is able to ask themselves, like, is this in alignment with the positive force of nature, or is this the negative force of nature? And if you ask yourself that before every decision you make, before every action you make, for every thought that you have, then you'll notice, then, like, if that negative force of nature was trying to slip like thoughts into your head. But if you don't have that self-awareness, or you don't have that coming back to and checking in with yourself for these actions and decisions that you make, then it's easier for that negative force to slip these thoughts into your head and then get you to act on them. And that's what he's saying too, like with families, and like by at a very young age, inciting fear in the devil, fear in with finances, worry, anxiety. Then it creates these doorways that where then that negative force is then able to like come in, take the steering wheel, and perpetuate more negativity out into the world. um, yeah,
Sure.
super fascinating. I feel like the way that Napoleon Hill breaks down the conceptualization of all of this is very easy to digest and very easy to conceptualize, whereas it's like, oh, like ideally, like it's like, oh, like none of it really seems like completely new information, but he just like breaks it down in a very easy way for you to understand and digest it, and to be able to have conversation around it as well.
Something it also
Hmm.
brought forward for me was as I was experiencing and navigating at the end of last year what shame really is, where it's not this far out thing. It's any time that we were telling ourselves we should or we feel unworthy or something like that. When I understood what shame truly was and made it way more relevant for myself and seeing how it's been apparent and how that energy has held me back in certain ways. And the book's kind of doing the same thing with the devil. I've never believed in some external entity that is going to condemn us and damn us. Like I've never believed in that. I didn't think that's a thing. So now posture it as the scope of our mind that we are not thinking for ourselves or we're being led by reactive emotions and such. Like it is so present in us. Um, it just makes it way again more relevant. Like, oh, this is the devil. Whether
Yeah.
there's any truth in this or it's just a completely metaphorical, it's just a word. Frankly, it's just a word for negative energy. So honestly,
Hmm.
there's no yes, this is it or this is not.
Hmm.
It's like drifting. It's these actions. And the I love how they brought it forth and that he's not going to force you. I think people, it's kind of easy to think like, oh, like it's going to be this astute control or something like that. But it says the devil does not beg, he gets people through cleverness.
Mm.
And he will find a way to activate these pieces of you and these desires and these parts to ignite your ego that wants to be fed. So it finds a way to tempt you in a way where it's like, I don't have to force or control. I just have to put the right candy on the stick and you'll come.
Yep.
So, again, making it more relevant when we feel like it has to be some like really far out being and through exerting extreme force. It's like, okay, whatever. If we see it as this thing that's like, oh, I can just like slip into this if I'm not actually being conscious of my own mind, now
Yeah.
all of a sudden very real.
So you know how there's a common spiritual belief that there's like divine timing in everything?
Hmm.
How do you think that falling into habits of drifting and habits of chasing or going after that candy that the negative force of nature is dangling in front of you falls into divine timing in everything?
Anybody else want to answer? I'll answer if not. If you guys,
Something
Well,
about
Oh, go
having
ahead, Max.
divine timing, right? Am I right? I'm starting there. That there's a process that things happen at the right time, in the right place for the right reasons. And there's one of my favorite parts of the book that it talks about, not necessarily about timing, but about how Edison converted failure into a stepping stone
Mm.
to achievement, while others used it as an alibi for not producing results. So what he was referencing in the book is that, hey, you have all these wonderful other inventors in the world, right? Probably another 100 inventors that had as good or better ideas than Edison. But why is Edison's name being remembered? Because he used those uh, those failure points as stepping stones to achievement. And to answer your question about divine timing, I don't think there's divine timing, um, as much as there is having faith that you're going to overcome this obstacle and using those points of failure as stepping stones to achievement. And I think that whole process is the unsung hero of probably every person of achievement.
Mm.
So to answer your question, no, I don't think there is divine timing. I think there's divine purpose.
Mm. Beautiful.
Beautifully said, Max.
When did you become a poet?
Mhm.
Well, I learned from the best.
Love you, brother. That was beautifully articulated. And yeah, I definitely agree with yeah, that it's all opportunities for growth. And yeah, just having the awareness that the shiny thing in front of you right now could just be a diversion from your true purpose and your true path. And yeah, as I was like sitting like with that, I noticed that I think that that's definitely like a big way that one of the most prevalent ways that the negative force of nature uh, gets me to drift is by um, yeah, putting shiny things in front of me, and then as I go
Hmm.
after it, like getting a little bit of success, and then taking it away, and then me falling, and then yeah, falling down more into like darkness, and then instead of me finding a light from faith, then like putting like another false light like in front of me, and it's like, oh, this is the way out of the darkness, and then like going after that, and it's good for a little while, and then falling back down again. And so it creates like these like little opportunities of like growth without like really making any substantial breakthroughs. um,
Hmm.
and I think that that substantial breakthrough comes from radically going after my purpose.
Mhm.
Do you remember the story from Think and Grow Rich where it talks about 3 feet from gold?
Yeah, we're the guy that gave up and then sold it to the other guy, then the other guy came and ended up becoming like a millionaire.
Right? But the most important part of that story is the guy who ended up selling the mine short took that lesson to heart and he founded one of the biggest insurance empires,
Mm.
you know, uh, in Napoleon Hill's day. And I just thought that was kind of interesting. Like I think what we're all talking about is just those seeds, little tiny little seeds. They're not the full-blown flower, but they're tiny little seeds, that um, of success that you can grow into this giant opportunity if you're willing to, you know, take that seed, and let it grow and let it plant, let
Yeah,
that lesson have a bigger impact than that gold mine. Saying like, oh, that gold mine, I made the wrong turn, but this time I'm not gonna give up the 3 feet short of gold.
Exactly, 100%. And even then, like the story at the very beginning of the um the novel where he's talking about his own experiences and like how he like started like running up these like big companies and like would like see like success and then like then he would step away, you know? And he'd be
Hmm.
like, "Oh, like this is in alignment." And would then like go on to the next thing. Um and he didn't end up actually getting that interview with the devil and writing this book until and completing his how to like actualize book until he was in his like 40s, right? Or 50s. So it was like he drifted like all through his like 20s and 30s and 40s, but all of those small stepping stones eventually got him to the point of where he was able to corner the devil and have this conversation and write this book. Um but yeah, I don't know. For me though, it's like that seems like a lot of time, you know? So it's like,
Mm,
oh, like if you know that you could spend the next 20 years like drifting, would
Hmm.
you not just go like radically after your purpose now?
Hmm.
exactly. I think that's what Napoleon Hill wants us to do. He wants us to be uh, radically respective, of our purpose in life. Um, and let it be concrete. Let it make other people feel uncomfortable. Those aren't the people you need around.
Yeah,
So true.
beautiful.
Um, let's see, what was another part of the book I really liked? Oh,
Um,
yes.
oh, go ahead, Max.
All right, I have one more thing to share, and then Logan can take center stage. How the devil talks about, I cannot control you because you've discovered your own mind and taken charge of it. There
Hmm.
now, Mr. Earthbound, that confession should feed your vanity to the bursting point. But
Yep.
it's not vanity to it's discover your own mind and taking charge of it.
Yeah.
And he kind of says like this is uh this is yeah, there's nothing wrong with the principle of flattery. As the thesis goes on to say that, like I'm not controlled by the devil because I have controlled my own mind and have taken charge of it. And I think that you can probably write a whole other book just on that topic, taking control of your mind and, you know,
Yeah, you could.
and right, and then discovered your own mind and then taken charge of it. There we go. Uh, you can write a whole book on that. It's just it's just so mind blowing that there's people out there who don't have control of their own mind. And we were just talking about it shortly ago, how you're like, hey, we have all these external influences on us, right? And like if we don't have a defined set of principles or divine purpose, we'll just go with the wind.
Mm.
And
Sure.
and even in the book, he kind of describes like, oh, here's a drifter. He says it's the guy who's just rather make an alibi, you know, from every excuse that he can think of. Like if he makes a definite decision, he'll quickly reverse it. You know, um, there's just stuff like that, and like there's a couple people that come into my mind that fit that description. I'm like, okay, those guys are drifters.
Hmm.
Mm.
Um, the main thing is not to compare them to me, right? And just feel good about myself. But the main point is to, hey, I'm discovering my own mind and I've taken charge of it.
One of the craziest things I found inside of well, not crazy, but the one thing that, or one of the things that really stuck out was two things that they classify as being taken by the devil are people who are indecisive and people who are in poverty. I feel that oftentimes society gives a lot of sympathy to people in poverty. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Oh my God. And I feel like it's, I've seen more and more how common it is, and it's crazy. It's like, oh, these people are taken by the devil. And most of the time, I would imagine, I might be wrong here, I'm making a jump. Most of the time is due to indecision and or lack of commitment. People have
Mm.
not committed to excellence. People haven't committed to a single path. What you see in society is people jump from job to job to job and like move all around. And I mean, I've even experienced that. Me and Logan have started a couple different things, didn't do jack shit with them.
Yeah,
No commitment
Mm.
there. Um, I mean, I've been fortunate to like have some things that did really well, but we see in society that like there's a lack of commitment, and that indecision is kind of very correlated with that lack of commitment because indecision is the unwillingness to make a decision. And so
Mm.
decisiveness is actually a very godly thing when we can sit there and make a decision without having all the information and just deciding, I'm going to make a decision. I'm going to go in this way. I'm going to choose a conscious effort to move in this path. That might not be the right path. I'm going to choose to take a path and walk the path rather than just fucking stare at the doorway of the all these different options. I'm going to get there and I'm going to walk the path.
yep,
And so seeing it postured in the light of like, you're taken by the devil if you're in poverty and if you're in indecision. I think there's a reason that this book was not published at the time.
Yeah.
It's because this is a trigger. Most of the fucking people in the world, most people will be like, oh, fuck this guy.
So
pretty
this book wasn't
much.
published until after he died, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like well after he died. It was so fascinating. And as I read this, I'm like, yeah, we can sit here and totally resonate with a lot of this. We are actively taking steps to be non-drifters. We still drift. We fall into the drift with all
For
this.
sure.
But I think you take this to, or I think a lot of people in society might just posture because it says 98%.
Which is a almost yeah, that's like
That means three of us
billions.
are drifters.
Yeah.
You said what?
I mean, three of us in here might be drifters. And four, 98%.
That
Yeah,
yeah,
or
that
all
could
of
be
us. I
yeah,
was about
that
to
could
say
be
that could be every
everybody.
one of
Yeah.
us.
And so looking at such high
Uh,
percents, it's like this is gonna offend a lot of people. And then there's parts in the book where it's talking about like um the devil has corrupted the mind of the young by teaching them to drink and smoke. I don't know many people, well, I do now. I'm fortunate now that I'm in spaces where I'm around people who are intentionally choosing um not to be doing these things, but literally used to be all around me. That's all I saw. And so there's so many of these things that's like, oh my God, no wonder this shit didn't get published because like most people were just gonna pick it up, throw it away, and give it a bad review.
Yep, pretty much. I think the devil also uses like the formal education system and like religion to say how like the societal norms of conditioning people to conform versus thinking for themselves. So that could also be a big factor that probably troubled a lot of people too.
Yeah, the religious aspect too. I'm sure like most religions would take because most religions, unless they're truly rooted in the purpose to like most and I'm generalizing, and I think it is true for most. That's why I'm generalizing it. Most places look to posture themselves as a vehicle between you and God, as if they are some intermediary that is necessary for you to connect with God. I don't think
Mhm.
all of them do, but I think a lot of them do. If you're not going to church, you're not holy. If you're not doing this, you're not holy. It's kind of
mm.
bullshit. I haven't gone to church in like 3 months, and I'm more connected to God than I've ever been. But if you ask some churches, they'd be like, "Oh my God, like he's completely lost his way. He's a drifter."
Yeah,
And
Um,
that's inciting fear.
mhm. I love chapter five. The first thing I have in my notes here. Quickest way to become a non-drifter is to give a valuable service to as many people as possible.
Mm.
Mm.
And how simple that is. Doesn't mean that you're going to get paid a lot or anything, but like it's like just that conscious effort to add value to the world. Go out there and just give a valuable and in that, like if you're truly providing a valuable service, like energetically you are just going to start receiving. It's natural that you are going to be out of poverty in no time, if you're genuinely giving a valuable service to as many people as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Mm.
I say that I'm playing devil's advocate with my own thoughts though. I don't know that's always true.
And what was?
Well, I guess it would be then what do you define a valuable service? You know, there are, that's
Well,
not super valuable. The first thing that came to my mind is shoe shiners.
mm,
Some people might this is a valuable service.
yeah.
Probably a lot of them with complete poverty.
Yep. That's for
So
sure.
I think there needs to be a little more context in that.
Yeah, on
I
what a
think it
valuable
generally
service
makes
is.
you.
Mm, mhm. I agree with that.
Can I tell you guys a cool story?
Yes.
So my dad, he went to high school with this guy who started his own garbage um, garbage company. At first, he was just, working with other guys using his own truck, picking up people's trash. Probably think to yourself, oh, there's no way this guy's gonna amount to anything. He didn't go to college or anything. Everybody else went to college. He didn't. And what he did is that he bought a used truck and he got his first contract with this small municipality in Ohio. And he started off with that single contract, single truck. And then he made his rounds. Eventually, he got two trucks and three. And then he got another city contract for like 5 years. And he used that to buy a whole fleet of trucks.
Nice.
Kind of see where this story is going, don't you?
Mhm.
And now he's got like this whole, tri-state area where he's, servicing all these municipalities and got contracts, and he's a multimillionaire. And all that started with him just picking up other people's trash in his truck.
Mm,
Wow.
So
Nice.
don't underestimate a valuable service, is what I'm saying.
yeah.
And sometimes the way that looks, like somebody's vision might be different, from person to person.
Mm.
What do you
And
guys
we all have different purposes.
What do you guys think about the statement, be definite in everything you do, and never leave unfinished thoughts in your mind?
Yeah. If the state of drifting is not having clarity, then even if what you're doing, and I think they said this in the book too, like even if you're doing isn't in alignment with your purpose, by just having a clear direction, you're still closing that door that the devil or that the negative force could come in and keep you in drifting by just inducing fear or questioning, which I think is super interesting. The It's not like that paralyzed fear of not starting things, of being like, like should I do this or should I do this or should I do this? And then the more you don't take action and the more indecisive you are, like the more paralyzed you get like to actually start.
Yep.
And it's curious too because we were just talking about like the law of momentum and how it was one of the most powerful laws in the previous book we read. And if you have the momentum to just keep taking action and keep going in the direction you're going, like, and not really question it, then you're closing the door that the negative force could use to incite indecision and fear and paralyze you.
Oh.
Do you think a lot of it
Hmm.
goes back to indecision?
Yes.
Cool. Any other thoughts there?
Um, what was
Well,
the original
yeah,
question?
can you repeat the question?
No, all right, we'll go to the next thing. It's okay.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
I also enjoy, um, maybe it's not the right word. I appreciate, me and Trevor talked on this last night, where it talks about don't accept anything from life that you don't want.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically saying don't ever fucking settle. It's
Mm,
like get
Mm.
clear on what you want. And I feel like a very prevalent one that I can see this um, being a possibility is especially in romantic relationships, friendships, these places where if you feel like, let me speak for my own self, if I feel like I'm scarce in a place and I don't feel like I'm there now, I feel like in the past I have been. Um, it's like a willingness to take something just because like until something else better comes around.
Yeah, kind
As
of like a
soon
safety
as
blanket.
Yeah, a safety net.
Safety
Um,
net.
and I don't think I've engaged in that, but I could see. I think I'm relating it back also to sexual energy, like being willing to share something so sacred and everything with somebody that you don't necessarily want to be with.
Mm.
Um, whether that be like short term, long term, whatever, but like being willing to share that with somebody that you don't want, then giving away your most valuable energy in the world. You're essentially telling the universe, the world, like, okay, I want this.
Mm.
Like instead of telling, like, don't accept anything from life that you do not want. And if you hold yourself out and it's hard and things are going to come up and you're like, oh, well, my standards are really high. Maybe I should just bring them down a little.
Yeah.
But when we like clearly states, don't accept anything from life you don't want. Life masters you or you master life.
Mhm. Yeah, I feel like that definitely resonates with me a lot, just the standards thing. Obviously for a reason why I've been so single for so long, I have a bit higher standards than I thought I should have, but I don't really think that I should settle for anything that I don't think I deserve best. So I think that we shouldn't settle for anything in life. So I definitely agree with that.
Hmm. Do you believe that you're meeting the standards you have set for the feminine, the reciprocal of it?
At the moment, I don't think so, no.
Good honesty, brother.
Appreciate it.
It's tough because, there's some parts of my life where I think I have it all figured out. And the truth is that I don't know everything. Um, and I think some of the biggest things that I've learned in the last few months is as we've been reading all these books about leadership, and self-improvement, is that you have to accept you don't know everything. You have to let go of the methods to get to what you really want. And sometimes I get so glued to the particular method that I want to do it with that I'd rather fail with the method that I want
Is this in a
rather than
romantic aspect or
not
just
just
anything?
not just romantic aspects, but anything in business and stuff, like if I just let go of the methods, right? And just start saying like, okay, what do I really want? What's the main goal, right? What's the purpose? And just go after that,
So you
right?
find
And let
yourself in
go of
that
the
state?
means. What?
You find yourself in that state?
Yeah, I find myself in that state. Like sometimes I think, oh, I have to do everything myself, or oh, I have to do it this way, I have to do it that way. But the truth is that you don't have to do anything in a particular way. In fact, it's okay to ask for other people for ideas. It's
Hmm.
okay to branch out and look for different opportunities,
Do you see a
rather
mirror
than
there?
just sticking to the same thing over and over again.
Do you see a mirror with that, Max, in life?
Uh, yes.
Particularly with your pops?
Um, yeah, I'm particularly with my dad, like I have a relationship with him that's fairly repetitive, and if I want to experience change, right? If I want to grow, I have to, I'm willing to let go of my old methods of operation and move forward with new ones. And that's my biggest point to you, to anyone who's, feeling stuck or, it's just let go of your current ideologies or methods that you think that is going to make the thing work. Let go of it. Let go of your ego.
A bit of a lateral step on that thought. It's not directly correlative, but I find it super valuable is a lesson that someone I really respect and look up to shared one of our groups. He said one of the greatest gifts you can give to the world is to see everybody for who they are right now.
Mm.
It's so easy, especially you've known someone. I mean, I've known Logan like 11 years, something like that. Known Max for like 6, 7. Trevor only a year, but like we all have like these ideas of who the people in front of us here right now are. And in all of our life, we have these ideas of who this person is. And the greatest gift we can give to each of these people is to see them who they are right here, right now, today, without attaching them to any of the past, because today they are totally different. There's a total huge like if I were to attach the first 10 years I knew Logan to him now, which I'm sure I do unconsciously, then I'm not seeing him fully for who he is right now. I'm attaching someone to the past to him. Um, and it's just it's it's crazy um how true that is, yet how come like how difficult that can seem to like let go of all these past. And the
Sure.
greatest gift we can give is just to see someone who they are right here and now.
Mm.
So you think that we shouldn't see them in their past at all, or just a certain
I think with everything
time?
there's a harmony, but like the way he described it was like the greatest gift you can give someone is to see who they are right now. Like, and especially if you're in a space of growth and development, being at that growth day where people are like everyone's there to grow.
Yeah.
Um, Seeing someone because I think people often want to see people for their potential and or they want to see people for their patterns.
Mm,
And there's actually a saying, it's like see people for their patterns, not their potential.
mm,
There's validity in that, but then when you say it, you're like, oh, so you want me to look at this person entirely based on their past, not who they are right now. Because at some
Mm.
point, when you make a commitment to something, you've drawn a line and made a change in the person that you choose to be from that point forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know when the last time you guys feel that you've made a true identity shift in a matter of a moment, but if someone were to look at you from one day to the next, like, same guy, you'd be like, no, there's something actually different.
yeah.
But you're attaching me to all these things that I once was.
Damn.
And there is
Mm.
harmony, though. There's got to be harmony
Yeah, for sure.
in that. But I just thought it was really valuable because we are always changing. We're especially people who are intentionally putting themselves in spaces. Because I'll
To
be real,
constantly evolve.
some people aren't changing. Some people do the same damn thing every single day. They go to the same job, talk to the same people, have the same attitude, the same like
Yep.
everything's the same.
And that's the whole concept of drifting right there.
Hmm.
Mm.
Beautiful.
So all of this stem from not accepting, anything that don't want to tolerate, right? It's about, oh yes, going after what you absolutely want and not settling. And I feel like, that kind of goes back into relationships and defining like, hey, what's the potential versus, hey, what are the patterns that I'm seeing? And one of the things that my mom taught me is a very valuable thing, because she grew up, in a very tough neighborhood and had to overcome all sorts of obstacles, right? And she would tell me that, Max, don't in your relationships, like don't fix anybody. You can't fix them. They can only fix themselves. And don't go into a relationship thinking that, oh, this is a fixer-upper, and I'm gonna make them into who I wanted them to be, and she says that's just setting yourself up for failure, So she said, trust people to be themselves, right? And so if you see a pattern, right, and you see some potential there, you gotta let them pursue that, on their own. And if they aren't in a place where you really want to be right now, you just need to keep moving forward.
It's a difficult one.
That is.
Me and Trevor talked about that yesterday and witnessing some people from the outside, and you see, like, oh, I know that is not aligned. I know you're going down a path that you're gonna regret. And it's one of the hardest things to do.
Especially when they're excited about it.
Yeah, you're like, oh, you're headed right for the slaughterhouse with that one. So, devil enters the mind through the thoughts we perceive to be our own. most of these are seen as. I'm gonna put these in the chat. I'm curious which of these you guys most resonate with, or feel are most prevalent, rather. It's not resonate with any of these, but what's been prevalent in the past.
Fear, greed, lust, laziness.
Okay, yeah, I was hoping you were just gonna read the whole list.
Probably lust and laziness.
Hmm.
My two biggest ones, and some fear. I feel like everyone has at
Fear,
least fear.
fear is like the umbrella of all of
I
it.
was, oh, okay,
But
makes
it
sense.
was listed as like one of them, but I kind of see it as
Yeah,
umbrella.
I would definitely say that. Yeah, as a.
I'm curious though,
Uh,
seeing the word superstition and how that might apply.
Was that one of his
I think
things
that's
he
on
wrote?
like the fear of the devil, like the devil's waiting for you, burning in hell. Um,
Oh, superstition.
Okay, how is superstition the way the devil impedes our mind? Um, it mimics faith while replacing it with fear-based control.
yeah,
hmm.
It replaces cause and effect with irrational fear. Superstition convinces us that unrelated actions control our fate. Breaking a mirror, walking under a ladder, this kind of stuff. This disconnects us from truth and responsibility, keeping us mentally enslaved to false patterns. Instead of trusting God's divine order, we become ruled by baseless rituals.
Wow, I've never thought of a superstition like that.
I haven't either.
Oh, shit.
Think some
Replacing
people wear
faith
superstition
with fear.
like a badge of honor, like, oh yeah, I got my superstitions.
Yeah, for sure.
mm.
Hmm.
Um, hard to say for two. I think also, well, how would you guys describe vanity?
Vanity, I would kind of describe it as being self-absorbed,
I think
thinking that
there's
you're
like a
better.
Let's see.
ob- obsessed with self-image.
Like narcissistic?
It makes
Yeah.
self the center instead of God. Look at me instead of look at him. Shifts our focus from purpose to appearance, from service to status. Um, self-image becomes a priority. I would say probably that then. Probably
Yeah,
vanity and revenge for me.
I guess I would definitely say I include vanity in mine as well.
Um,
Yeah, 100% for me.
both of which have gotten a lot better, and at times laziness.
Yeah.
I feel lust and greed. I don't feel very present for myself though.
I thought
Or
we were talking about over the course of our lives.
yeah, kind of what feel most prevalent like in our realities, like in the past couple months.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, vanity is probably a big one. What would y'all differentiate vanity versus confidence?
I think it's kind of like vanity almost reminds me of cockiness,
Yeah.
like this
Like,
over inflated. Um, well, and the way it describes there, because the book is in reference and it's referencing from the context of the book. The way the book would be referencing is look at me, look at me, look at me. I did this, I did that. I like priding yourself on you.
Mm.
Again, with the more cocky energy, you can be like, wow, look what I did. But like
Yeah.
at the same time, like I couldn't have done it without God. And I think um I don't know, yeah, that's the way context put on GBT with this reference. But
Yeah.
part of me that feels like with that people might try or I've seen people where they almost don't take any acknowledgement or recognition. So it's almost the flip side where it's like, oh no, all power to God. And I respect that.
Yeah.
But it's like you actually took action. You
Yeah.
actually did something. And I see people err on that side. And then I also see people err on the side of like, I'm not going to cast a vision. I don't know God's plans for me. So, and then they end up drifting because they're just like, whatever comes in my
Mm.
reality is meant for me.
Yeah.
You also have to create,
Hmm.
you also have to set a path.
Mhm.
doesn't mean it's going to look the way you want it to look.
For
You
sure.
got to at least set your North Star.
Yes.
It's a good point.
My last question, and then we can close up and final remarks. So these are the six most prominent fears. What do you feel is the most prominent for you guys? What is the fear that most directs the drifting and the fear inside of your life?
Mm. I don't think I'm scared of death or old age, but not having enough time or like not accomplishing everything I want to do like while I'm young. Even like Napoleon Hill waiting until he was like 40 to 50 to lock in this interview with the devil and finish his manuscript. I was like, ooh, like he was aware of his purpose at like 18 years old. And then it took him until 20, 30 years to actualize on it. Um, I feel like that's a prevalent fear for me is knowing my purpose and not acting on it for decades.
What is
Decades?
your
That's what Napoleon Hill did.
Okay, okay. I thought you meant like you feel you haven't been acting on it for decades. I was like, I don't think you
mm.
No, 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 no. But like being a 40-year-old man and then being like, okay, like now I gotta start. Like,
Yeah, now I gotta lock in.
yeah.
What is your purpose, Trevor?
To share my story with others, to reach out a hand to help others, support people, be a cheerleader, be a support person, help people actualize on their goals and dreams, help people find their purpose, to shine my light so bright that the people around me can't help but shine a little bit brighter as well.
Beautiful.
How would you put that in a brief one sentence?
To spark love in every person I come across.
Wow.
Beautiful.
That's what Anthony and I were talking about last night.
You should be a matchmaker.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, go ahead, Logan.
Oh my bad. I was just gonna say, one of the biggest ones I suffer with is probably the fear of ill health. Um, not only like internally but externally as well, just like body and mental, just everything, all the above. Just making sure that, my mind's healthy, my body's healthy. Taking care of my grandma has definitely gave me a whole different way to look at life and look at using my body and look at taking, more care of my body. So ill health is a big one.
Has it felt inspiring or has it felt like, because you can be driven by inspiration, like, oh, I know what I want to do. I'm driving towards this. And then you can also be fear, like, oh my God, I don't want that. Do you feel it's more of a fear push or
I think it's a little bit of both. There's some fear in it, but there's also a sort of what you were saying, like motivation to drive me to get better health. Just seeing all the, I've met a lot of people over the past, year and a half that are in their like 70s and 80s are in phenomenal health, and that just motivates me to, walk every day and to stay active like they tell me, and to, eat whole foods, all the good stuff.
okay, ill health? Okay. Trevor, what would you classify? I could dare say time is old age or death. Indirectly, but so.
Yeah. I feel like death doesn't scare me and growing old.
But would dying before you achieve your life's purpose scare you?
Yes.
I think that could correlate a little bit with death.
Yeah.
But I see, like, I could see time also being on there. I like that.
Yeah,
Max, what
makes
about you?
sense.
You know what I love best about that list
What?
is that every single one of those fears can be turned on their heads.
Or which one feels the most prevalent for you?
Let me just tell you a quick list.
I'm just asking for one,
So,
Max.
For one,
Just
come
one,
on,
Maxie boy, just one.
There's six.
you're limiting the positive thoughts here. It's okay. I would say the biggest one for me is criticism.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I would say mine is definitely it's definitely like a strong I think it's loss of love, but I feel like I've already went through that pain. Now I feel like okay, maybe poverty. But then again, like I guess my biggest fear is like really bad health, but I just don't see it as like it doesn't seem prevalent. Like I'm not worried about that. Even as I
Mm,
almost died this week, I was like, I know I'm gonna get better.
Hmm.
yeah.
So if I had to pick one, I think I might that drives most of my actions. I would probably say in that case, poverty.
Mm,
It doesn't feel as intense as when there's a fear of loss of love, or when there was rather, or when there's a serious threat to health. Like that's like a stark, like, oh shit, like a wake up call.
yeah.
Whereas the poverty one, I don't feel like I'm anywhere near poverty. I know I'm not, but a financial scarcity, it's a softer, like it's not a super intense energy, but it can be an underlying decision and more of my day than anything else.
Mhm. What do you consider poverty? Is that like homelessness or
Uh,
what
I
is the
mean,
definition of poverty?
I think poverty is defined as like, I think like the bottom 10% or something.
Mm,
It's really struggling, but
mhm.
it's also hard to say because like we're in a society where, oh cool, I'll just use my credit cards or this or that. Like I don't know. Maybe I'm,
Yeah.
but then there also are people
Hmm.
in poverty
Yeah.
in our country that don't have access to a credit card, don't have access to any of that stuff. They can't get credit, they can't like any of that. So they are genuinely as poverty, and they're like, oh, I don't know where my like I don't know how I'm going to pay rent. I don't know how I'm going to do this. Like if any of us were truly in a bad situation, every single one of us could call both of our parents and they'd help us.
Yeah, for sure.
Any of us were in a really shitty situation, any of us in here would really help each other. We also have that, so I feel like poverty also comes down. I said poverty is contagious. We are so disconnected from an environment where poverty even exists that it's really hard to like actually put ourselves in that, I feel.
Mm,
But let's see what GPT says. Poverty is often defined materially, but its deepest impact is spiritual and psychological. Lack of access to basic resources like food, clean water, shelter, healthcare, and education, often measured by income thresholds, living under $2.15 a day globally.
wow. So it could be like economic poverty, or it can be kind of like Napoleon Hill's perspective was psychological or mental poverty, like living in fear of not having enough.
Yeah, right here, the next one it says mental poverty, which just makes my connection with it make way more sense. A mindset of lack, believing there's never enough, whether it's money,
Mm.
time, love, opportunity, or worth.
Yeah.
Shit, this is like my mushroom journey the other day is like exactly like just realizing how much that's rooted in the human psyche of like, oh,
Yeah.
I never feel like I have enough. I never feel like I'll be enough. I never feel like I can do enough. Like this almost like
Yeah.
and working to work past that, but like you see it in people at all capacities. Um, and then it's just like constantly applying love to that, coming back to abundance. But you see it literally in people. I went and hung out with somebody I look up to as a mentor who last August had a 60K month. He's telling me like, yeah, I think I might like have to go get a job. I'm like, what? What are you talking about, bro? And it's like it's just wild that it is so prevalent and it's people experiencing not enoughness in all capacities of life, even people at the very top.
Yeah,
Hmm.
for sure.
So,
Nice.
yeah, after reading that, definitely I'd say poverty.
Mm, okay.
Hmm.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Okay, so one thing I would like to end on is so much of this. Actually, I want each of you guys to put your biggest takeaway in the book club before we walk out of here. I'd love to know what is a level of definiteness you want to apply. Maybe not of your purpose. It's okay if you don't feel you know your purpose. I challenge you to. And if you want to apply this to your purpose, awesome. But like, what's something that you want to get that you're gonna choose to be definite in moving forward? What's a decision that maybe you think you've made, but you haven't been definite, you haven't been committed? Where would you like to go
Hmm.
with that?
Are we supposed to say it or write it down?
Say it. And then what we'll share in the school group is just your biggest takeaway.
Oh, you said something that we are definite about, or what is it?
Something we're going to step into a state of definiteness with. Somewhere we
Mm.
haven't been definite. Letting this be an inflection point for now I'm deciding to be definite. Ultimately, now I'm deciding to make a decision of commitment.
Yeah. So like in a certain area of life, so like fitness or business or just anything.
Whatever makes sense for you.
Okay, fair enough.
I'll block it if it sounds like trash.
Beautiful. Um,
For me, I'm how I know it needs to be real because it has been so many times it hasn't, is DMOs.
mm,
The simplest one metric in my business that I face so much resistance to when I start going, I start having so much momentum, but I want to work on the fresh things, the new things each week, the thing that's different. Doing
yeah,
the same thing every day for me. When I start seeing the results, it's like, great, I'll keep doing this. But until I get the ball really spinning, it's yeah, it's the law of momentum. Literally. So
Mm.
me,
Mm.
definiteness for me is definitely choosing my DMOs as I don't do other work if my DMOs are not complete.
beautiful, beautiful. I'd say
Yeah.
my definiteness would be to get that discipline and positive actions, uh, or that repetition of discipline and positive actions through journaling. Just journaling, I guess, my thoughts and just whatever over the period of the days.
You got your growth day journal, right?
Yeah, I have my growth day
Performance
journal.
planner,
Say what?
high performance planner.
Yep, that I haven't been using. So yeah, definitely that's gonna be my definite from.
I started using that, and then there's the two time columns where it's like the calendar slots.
Yeah.
With those, I just started journaling on those because I have the calendar on my thing.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, I feel like that's more of a planner versus a journal, no?
it is. I made a little makeshift.
Okay.
You can do however and answer the question
Yeah.
as deeply as you want to in the
Hmm.
columns.
Fair enough. How do you feel
I'm
that's working for you?
definite
Oh, my bad.
and
Go ahead.
committed to using a calendar.
Mm. Oh yeah, I've been using my calendar since our call and it's been
Nice.
working phenomenally.
Beautiful.
Mhm.
Max,
For me too, it would have to be using a calendar, not in the sense of just organizing my time, but making commitments of of making more time to go on dates.
fantastic.
And I think the biggest thing holding me back is the criticism that I'll get, like how much time I'll be spending on something. I'm actually afraid to spend time on it for criticism's sake.
Mm.
Okay. I would also so put our takeaways, put your declaration, what you're committing to, and put your biggest fear, which
Mm.
we all chose a different one, which I love. And I want all of us to start calling each other on that shit.
Okay.
Calling each
So,
other forward, not calling each other out. Hey,
okay.
brother, Max, you sound like you're really shying away from criticism right now and you're not being authentic for it. Or Trevor, I see you're really being scarce with your you can put time. You don't have to put death.
Okay. I
Or
was like,
Luke.
I've meditated on death. I was like, I'm not scared of death.
Um yeah, so I challenge you guys to do that literally right now. And
Can you repeat that one more time? What it exactly was? Put it in my notes.
biggest takeaway.
All right, one biggest takeaway.
One biggest takeaway, your definiteness, or rather a clear decision slash commitment, And biggest fear driver.
There we go.
Drop that in the
Biggest
school.
takeaway.
Not later. Now. Decision.
Perfect. I'll put it in tonight.
You guys have 5 more minutes. I have one more question I'd like to propose.
I'm gonna start getting ready. I'll leave you guys open. I gotta
I was gonna
call.
say I kind of gotta head out as
If you got
well,
1 minute,
but
I can give you 1 minute, Trevor, if that's quick.
Yeah, okay. So in Outwitting the Devil, he talks about how the drifter is somebody who doesn't think for themselves, right? Um, in today's age, we use a lot of people use ChatGPT to think for them. How do you guys think that AI could be a way of the negative force of nature influencing us?
Um, yes, conversations come up a few times. Everything is harmony. Are you having GPT do something that you can't do to avoid yourself from thinking? Are you using GPT because it sounds a little better? I think it's really the intention. If you're using it because you you have no competency in something, but then again, like this is justifying. I could justify it there too.
Yeah,
I yeah, I think you really have to gauge like your own relationship with it. Are you being empowered by it or disempowered by it? And I think you're the only one who can truly know that answer. I
yeah,
use it for ChatGPT therapy. That's fucking liberating and empowering as hell.
yeah,
I also have it at times when I'm like I've gotten DMs from people who like paragraphs and paragraphs. I was like, oh, I'm not reading this. I don't have time. Like you're talking in some really like also like really weird context, and I'm just gonna put it in there. GPT, how should I respond to this? Cool. Let's guide this person to the alignment call so we can hop on and serve them.
oh nice.
That's how I have the one book for tomorrow morning because literally, like, he gave me these long paragraphs. I was like, oh my God, bro, I don't know what you're saying. And at that time, like, I could have sat there mentally used my brain, but then for me, I look at it as 10x is easier than 2x. Are you using it so that you can step into your unique ability more? Because ultimately, wouldn't you do the same thing if you had access to a VA?
yeah,
So I think it really depends on your relationship with it and the context within if it's yeah, if you're using it in that way. But that's kind of how I like to look at it. Like, are you making it do everything? Because it can't replace what I'm doing, but I'm making it be my VA for things
yeah,
that if I was when I have the capital, I'll probably have someone else do it.
yeah.
So
Hmm.
kind of how I look at it.
Cool. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I agree with Anthony saying. I saying if you let AI be your alibi, right? If you
Mm,
let AI control you instead of you, you know, being a definite purpose, I
beautiful.
think I think that's when there's a problem.
Yeah, just make sure
Yeah,
you're not being lazy. Cool. Thank
Well,
you, Redas.
for you,
of course.
Um, yeah, same kind of thing. I think there are times whenever I use it from a place of laziness. And yeah, that's not in alignment. But no, I think yeah, using it to spark creativity or like whenever I'm writing, like being like, hey, this is what I've got so far. Like, do you want to take this and expand on my writing a little bit, and then just kind of like see what if it can give me something that sparks new creativity and new thoughts within
Hmm.
myself. Um, but yeah, and then yeah, using it as a VA and using it as a source of knowledge, and yeah, just differentiating ChatGPT and like my own like thinking, like using ChatGPT as a tool and not as an extension of your own mind. I don't know.
yeah, I really for me, like yeah, the 10x, 2x, like it's just such an anchor for me. I'm like, yeah, like what's his name? I can't remember they talked about in a book, one of these like huge guys. They're like, you don't know anything about these cars. He's like, I don't fucking need to. I know somebody who knows that knows like what knows it. He didn't know.
Oh,
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's like, that's cool. Like if I can just be the guy on the screen doing the coaching, And people were running the whole background. They'd be like, "Oh, like how do you send your emails? How do you do this? How do you manage it?" Like, don't know, don't really care. Like you're here,
Yeah.
serving you. Like I don't care about any of that shit. So
Cool.
I would love to be in that place where you're in your purpose and let these other people architect your reality so you can serve at your highest level.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Logan, did you have anything? I know I said Logan and then Trevor hopped in.
Oh,
Um,
my bad.
I did
You
not know. I'm gonna be honest. I'm focused on doing the school group since you said to do that right now. But what was the question?
just Trevor's question on AI.
What was the question? Can you repeat it, Trevor?
In Outwitting the Devil, they talk about how the drifter is one who doesn't think for himself. And nowadays with
Oh.
AI, I know a lot of people that will let AI do all of their thinking for them.
Mm.
If that's inciting a state of drifting, of mass drifting, or yeah, just what your thoughts are on AI.
I think it definitely can incite drifting if you rely on it too heavily, but I think it can definitely be an outlet for organizing your thoughts out loud even better. Or maybe just coming across something that you're having trouble with to refresh your memory or help you out in a certain project that you're stuck on.
Yeah,
So I think it could go either way.
cool. Thank you for sharing, brother.
Of course.
All right, boys, I'm gonna hop off. Love you guys.
All
Have a
right.
beautiful
Love you
evening.
too, brother. Did you want to check in tonight or do adios?
Yeah, we'll check in.
Okay, perfect. Probably 10:30 work for you?
Maybe we'll do audios. I'll talk to you.
Okay, perfect. Just let me know, brother. I'll update you.
Sounds good. Love you, brother.
All right, love y'all. Adios.
Love you, brother.
Trevor,
Yep,
call me.
I will.